The bottom line here, if you want to believe what Brian at High Impact Vlog says about me, that's on you. I have the right to come on YouTube and correct his wrong. And that's what I'm doing right now.
Sam Adams was right. If the contest for freedom is anything, it's animating. It's an incessant uphill against the current all-out battle, especially when you find yourself fighting for the rights of the very ones who are coming against and want to take your rights, and ironically calling you a liberal in the process. By holding fast to, contending for, and defending the truth and unadulterated and uncompromising liberty, you literally possess the key that will unlock the cage that has been fashioned in the minds of men. A cage that's been constructed through years of indoctrination, manipulation, propaganda, and varying degrees of brainwashing. You have the key and you can put it into their hands, but you can't make them insert the key and turn the lock. And the irony and grave paradox is, if you could force them to take the key and force them to insert it into the lock and force them to turn that key and open the door, then you would at that very moment become the friend of the very tyranny you were trying to help the indoctrinated sheep escape from. And it's you that would be standing behind the cage door. You can't force somebody to take freedom, and you can't force anybody to internalize freedom. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You can lead a man to truth, but you can't make him think. Voltaire said, "It's difficult to free fools from the chains they revere." I'd contend that it's not just difficult, it's impossible. You can throw them the key, but they got to do the rest. Unfortunately, history has shown that most don't have the desire to fling the cage door open to escape their prison. And what makes this bad situation even worse is that it's even more impossible for a man to come to and acknowledge truth and secure liberty when his paycheck or his reputation depends on him not understanding and securing it. We all have to admit that in some form or another, we all suffer from cognitive dissonance. Somewhere in the recesses of our brain, we're trying to hold two mutually exclusive and diametrically opposed ideas, thoughts, or beliefs, and we'll do almost anything to justify the unjustifiable so that we can live with our own internal hypocrisies and conflicts. And that's the nature and reality of cognitive dissonance. It's a self-induced mental sedative that allows us to live an illusory life where we can escape the mental pain and conflict of saying you're for evil, but you're also for good at the same time. It's the thing that causes people to say, "Hey, I had to choose the lesser of two evils." This mental sedative is exactly what makes people hail and promote law enforcement while claiming at the same time to be for individual liberties. It emboldens regular people to promote and literally worship the military-industrial complex as something that's honorable, to the point where we're expected to thank banker mercenaries, which we call soldiers, and abject order followers for their service. Think about that. Thanking a soldier for his service? His service to the bankers? Order followers are the conformists who do what they're told regardless of what is right. While moralists, on the other hand, who've managed to preserve their critical thinking ability, do what is right regardless of what they're told. We all know that the more man-made laws politicians make, which aren't even laws at all, but the mere opinions of the most vile men on the planet backed by the threat of force, but the more so-called laws that are codified, the less freedoms we all have. We all know that the majority of these so-called laws are inherently immoral and downright cruel. Yet laws would be impotent and have no teeth if they weren't enforced on the society by law enforcers. Law enforcers swear to uphold and enforce all laws, including the immoral and cruel ones, and there's a lot of those. Cognitive dissonance is what allows a badged, uniformed law enforcer to steal the liberties of another human being by arresting, kidnapping and caging them for the mere possession of a plant, which the politicians said people couldn't have. And that's just one example. Mental sedation through cognitive dissonance is what enabled the cops back in the 1920s to hunt down, destroy property, attack, and kill people because those people just wanted to buy, sell, and possess alcohol, which used to be legal, but then in the 20s it wasn't. Think about the evil of a cop. He harasses, kidnaps, finds, attacks, cages, and sometimes even kills people who've just disobeyed the laws of politicians. And if you did the same thing that a cop did, you'd rightly be thrown in jail because you'd be a criminal. But somehow it's okay if you have a badge, uniform, a gun, and come with the authority of the state? That kind of order following squashes freedoms. It doesn't secure it. It spreads a blanket of evil across the land in the most insidious way because it's laid down with the excuse of, well, we're doing this to keep you safe, or we're just following orders, or I'm just doing my job. Liberty is to be championed and held up at all times by all people in every place. Why? Because injustice against one man anywhere is injustice against all men everywhere. See, liberty is like a lion. It doesn't really need you to defend it. All you have to do is just turn it loose. It'll defend itself. And all who refuse to embrace that lion, as history has clearly shown, gradually, many times comfortably, get devoured by the crafty hyenas of merciless tyranny. Yeah, freedom is dangerous. The only thing infinitely more dangerous is not having it. If you're going to judge me, make sure you weigh my actions and my words on the scales of pure freedom. Not the cult of personality, not your cognitive dissonance, not on what the majority seems to be saying at the present time, but by the only thing that will secure peace, prosperity, and life. Freedom and nothing else. With that, I turn to Douglas. Fuck your rights, Ducote. If you missed what's going on with my objection to his stand against true freedom, I'll leave you the link to the video that I did entitled, What the F is Going On Here? Conservative combat vet says F your rights. Douglas has since responded to my criticism of his Facebook post in a video entitled My Response to Brian at High Impact Vlogs. Now, to refresh your memory of what Douglas said, and I'm just quoting here, please pay careful attention to his words because in the video, he's going to try to backpedal and convince you that he didn't mean what he actually said, and then he'll accuse me of slandering him when slander can only happen when you say something false about someone. So here we go. Quote, people are still dying right here in Lake Charles. Every city in the state of Louisiana, every state and city in America, and every country on planet Earth. That is Doug's context, not mine. I'm taking nothing out of context and leaving everything in its context. He continues, yet some could give two shits because their rights are restricted for a few weeks. So here's a question. Where are these some who could give two shits? They're in Lake Charles, in every city in Louisiana, every state and every city in America, and every country on planet Earth. To the people in those places who could give two shits in preference of protecting their rights, Douglas says, not me, Douglas says, fuck your rights. Head on over to the nearest hospital or hospice center and start licking the toilet seats, and then let's talk about your rights when you or a loved one are hooked up to a ventilator. Guys, the context is still people dying and in the context of needing a ventilator. And as you'll see, the context is this damn virus. So he ends with, I served this country with honor for your rights and mine, survived 4 combat deployments, and would surely like to survive this damn virus. That he's buying into the existence of this mainstream media propagandized virus is irrelevant. What matters is his stand against individual rights, no matter the reason. Now let's listen to Doug try to explain this away while digging his anti-freedom hole even deeper.
Hello, American Patriots. Douglas Ducote here. I would like to take the moment to address a YouTuber and his subscribers that believed what he put out in a video today, which was taken out of context, and then came over to my channel to try and get people to unsubscribe and to slander me. And he's done a great job of doing just that. The guy's name is Brian, B-R-I-A-N, and the YouTube channel is High Impact Vlog. Up until today, I had no idea who this guy was.
First, let me address the 3 lies that he spoke right off the bat. Number 1, he says, I took his words out of context. Just take another look at this paragraph written by Doug Ducote himself and tell me in what context fuck your rights is ever legitimate. No matter the reason. Fuck your rights is literally more harsh language for your rights are illegitimate in this case. That can never be true is answered by the simple word inalienable. It's in the Declaration of Independence. At no time and for no reason can anyone ever say fuck your rights and be legitimate. Not to mention that nothing was taken out of context. This is a clear lie for anybody who can read and understand. Number 2, he says that I, quote, came over to his channel to try and get people to unsubscribe and to slander him. The reason there's no evidence for this claim is because Douglas lied again and made that up. Never have I told a single person ever to unsubscribe from anyone. Further, since I'm against all forms of slander, I would never ask anyone to slander another human being. In fact, what I did say under my last video in the pinned comment is, quote, if you decide to reach out to him, please consider being polite and kind. Third, he says, up until today, I had no idea who this guy was.
Up until today, I had no idea who this guy was.
Now, I'm willing to give Doug the benefit of the doubt on this because he could have a failing memory. But less than a year ago, he and I both appeared on a live stream with the American Joe Show discussing extreme risk protection orders. So he either forgot, which is difficult to believe because I said a lot of things about the military and law enforcement that he didn't seem to agree with or like. So he either forgot or he's being completely dishonest. And since he outright lied about the first 2 statements, my confidence in his ability to tell the truth is wearing pretty thin. So let's get down to his explanation.
What he did was he put out a video claiming that I was not a patriot, that I do not support the Constitution, that I'm a fake, I'm a fraud, based off of a post that I put on my personal Facebook wall. And what he's doing by quoting what I put out, and I'm going to read it to you verbatim, and I haven't taken it down.
As of the recording of this video, Douglas or somebody in charge of his account has taken this down. It only exists right now as a screen capture which will forever immortalize what Douglas Fuck Your Rights Ducote really believes about individual freedoms.
He's taken it out of context. Now let me explain to you exactly what my comment was about first.
Please pay close attention to this right here because Douglas is about to lie again, and I'm going to provide the evidence for this statement in a minute, which may be the reason he had the post removed from his page.
Yesterday, I noticed in Lake Charles, Louisiana at the Civic Center, there was hundreds of teenagers and young adults having a big-ass party in the parking lot.
Translation, there were a bunch of free people exercising their freedoms, and I didn't like it.
Not only were they doing that, but they were endangering lives and lives themselves by racing their vehicles up and down through the parking lot, spinning out, burning rubber. I mean, literally turning this parking lot into black rubber. So that's destruction of property.
Now, I've never heard that burning out in parking lots could count as destruction of property. And as for endangering themselves and others, liberty dictates that you have every right to put your own life in jeopardy if you want to. People who sit on the front row of the Indy 500 know the risks. They can choose to be there or they can choose to leave. If the people in this parking lot Doug's talking about didn't want to be exposed to danger, they could walk away unless somebody was holding them there against their will. And if Doug's telling the truth about this event, which at this point I wouldn't believe without proof, there's no indication that anyone in this description of the event was doing anything but acting in liberty.
That in itself was kind of disturbing. But then to see this many youth all gathered together having a big-ass party, I thought, what's the purpose of us having this lockdown? If we can't go to restaurants, we can't go to state parks, we all have to be locked down because of COVID-19, then what the hell are these guys doing out here? Hundreds of them having this party.
And with every word, his shovel digs into the dirt and produces a deeper hole. I hope it's not lost on you what Douglas is advocating for here. He's literally saying, hey, the government's imposed this unconstitutional tyranny on the land. How dare these disobedient kids not comply and have this big-ass party when they should be submitting to unconstitutional orders like the rest of us order followers? Guys, this is truly pathetic and soundly reinforces the original contextual meaning of Doug's "fuck your rights" in the original Facebook post, which he says I took out of context. Doug does not want these kids to exercise freedom right now, period. We're under lockdown. You need to comply with your overlords. You need to believe the government and submit to your masters. It's disgusting.
I videotaped what they were doing. And I put out a quick video about that. Posted it on my Facebook channel. I did not put it on my YouTube channel.
I searched and couldn't find this, guys. But Doug, if you're watching this and have the guts to put it and your regular post back up, including the very revealing comments, we'd like to examine it.
And basically, I said, hey, parents of Lake Charles, Louisiana, if you have kids and you don't know where they were at last night, check out this video. And if you happen to notice your kid, you might want to jerk a knot in their ass and bring them home and teach them that this is not the right way to handle this.
At this point, I'm pretty speechless at the level of tyranny and hatred for liberty that's rattling around in this guy's brain. He has truly earned the self-given name Douglas Fuck Your Rights Ducote. And the more he talks, the more clear it becomes.
Here's my whole point. The youth are not the ones dying of COVID-19. From what I hear from my own family members that are doctors fighting this on the front lines, it's the elderly. It's those with underlying medical conditions. It's those that probably were going to die anyhow in the coming months or even years because of what was wrong with them.
So in the context of they were going to die anyway, he still wants a suspension of rights. It couldn't even be more clear.
Youth get this and they fight it just like the flu, and then they're over it. But if they expose it to their grandparent or parent or someone who happens to have an underlying medical condition, it's a death sentence.
That's the same with the flu. So basically, Doug is making the case for tyrannical lockdown every flu season. That's exactly what he's doing.
And that's what was disturbing about what they were doing. Did I do stupid stuff when I was a kid? Yes. Do I believe everything that the government is telling me about COVID-19? Hell no. Do I believe in our constitutional rights and our Constitution? You bet I do. I fought for those rights.
He's speaking again with a forked tongue. He just got done saying that these kids should be disciplined by their parents for exercising their freedoms, while he speaks out the other side of his mouth, saying he believes in our constitutional rights. This is typical statist hypocrisy. Douglas is lying, clearly lying.
But one of the people that were involved with this event at the Civic Center decided to put together a video taking part of what I did, putting it into their own video and adding things to it to make me look like an idiot.
This is absolutely irrelevant. Douglas has just demonstrated from the liberty perspective that he's against those kids being free and acting free. Apart from whatever video someone else has made, Douglas has already shown everybody who has eyes to see that he's an anti-freedom, fuck your rights idiot. Everything else is word salad and an unnecessary distraction.
And on top of that, then trying to say that I don't have the rights to go out and say anything to these teenagers. In other words, they have the constitutional rights to do whatever they want to do, endanger anybody they want. But I don't have the constitutional rights to say something about it?
This is nothing more than a red herring. It doesn't matter what these people say. Douglas used his right to express that he's against the individual rights of others, period.
And that is when I took to my own personal Facebook wall. And I said, people are still dying right here in Lake Charles. Every city in the state of Louisiana, every state and a city in America, and every country on planet Earth. Yet some could give two shits because their rights are restricted for a few weeks. Fuck your rights. Head on over to the nearest hospital or hospice center and start licking toilet seats. Then let's talk about your rights when you or your loved ones are hooked up to a ventilator. I served this country with honor for your rights and mine. Survived 4 combat deployments. And I would surely like to survive this damn virus. And a copy of the video, which they have now deleted. What's up right now is a video from KPLC, which is attached to this comment, just talking about the confirmed cases of coronavirus right here in the Lake Charles area. Now, I guess that can be confusing to some. If you read what I wrote and you think I'm addressing this to all Americans, maybe I shouldn't have attached any video to it. Maybe when they took their video down, I should have taken this post down. But it's too late now.
The only problem is nobody has to think or believe this is addressed to all Americans. The first sentence of his own post makes it clear that he is addressing all Americans and anybody who would dare walk in their rights as a free man in this country. And that's just number one. Number two, he just proved, apart from his Facebook post, that he didn't want these kids to have freedom or express their freedoms. And number three, there's this little reply left by Jennifer, which you can't see anymore because he took it down under that original Facebook post. Take a look at this. You can pause the video and read what Jennifer wrote, but let's take a look at Ducote's incriminating response. Jennifer, that's your right to disagree. I've lost 2 friends and a family member to this virus. Guys, that is irrelevant. Both my brother-in-laws and sister-in-law are doctors on the front lines risking their lives fighting this virus. That is also irrelevant. Having to stay home for a few weeks, even if it violates in some minds freedoms, is justified if it saves lives of those that can't fight the virus. That is very relevant. Douglas believes that being forced against your will and without your consent to stay home for a few weeks, even if it violates rights, is justified if it saves lives. Those are the words, my friends, of an anti-freedom-minded violator of individual rights, and it doesn't matter what he tries to add to the story. Like this post demonstrates, he's talking about that he's being threatened and his family's being threatened and family members are dying and that family members are doctors and they know what's going on. All these insertions into the conversation are completely irrelevant. They have nothing to do with the fact that Douglas Ducote hates individual rights. He loves tyranny. He said, fuck your rights, and everything he said after that to try to clarify his position ends up back on square one of fuck your rights. Thus the name Douglas Fuck Your Rights Ducote. And he just reinforces this fact every time he opens his mouth. He has proven himself to be a liar and an anti-freedom fake patriot. Leave your thoughts about this for the Douglas Ducotes of the world and the Google Thought Police in the comments section below, and I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored shadow ban video.
The point is, and the whole point of what I said was directing it at them, those that did the video, claiming that I don't have any constitutional rights to say anything against what these teenagers were doing. Hence where I came out with fuck your rights. I am the first person that will stand up for constitutional rights in this country. That's 100% what I stand for, is the United States Constitution.